Hello there, duelists. Today we've got guns. Lots of guns. And have Magical Musketeers on the playmat. So Musket's got some huge pre-release hype, but I've never really been able to shoot up to top tier. Occasionally we've seen some tops at regionals and YCSs, and their link monster, that is really amazing, have kind of kept them firing away. So let's check out this gun control deck. Okay, so we've got 3 Magical Musketeer Caspar. So all the Magical Musketeer monsters have the effect where they allow you to activate Magical Musket cards from the hand during either player's turn. And they also gain effects based on if a spell or trap card is activated in the same column that they are in, which goes for your opponent's spells and trap cards as well. So in Caspar's case, his secondary effect is that you can add a Magical Musket card except the one that's been activated to kind of activate his effect. So he's really the monster that we want to be getting at the most. From there we've got 2 Magical Musketeer Kidbrave and 2 Magical Musketeer Doc, which kind of rounds out our level 3 kind of axis of the deck. So Kidbrave, if a spell trap card is activated in his column, you can discard a Magical Musket card to draw 2 cards, which is fairly solid in terms of digging for answers and stuff like that. Again, you could easily bump either of these 2 up to 3. I've just chosen to kind of keep it fairly light on monsters. And then Doc, what he does is if a spell trap card is activated in his column, he can add back a Magical Musket card from the graveyard, but not the one that was used to activate his effect. So from there we're jumping into the Magical Musketeer level 4. So we've got 3 Magical Musketeer Starfire, 1 Magical Musketeer Calamity, and 1 Magical Musketeer Wild. So Starfire, when a spell trap card is activated in her column, yeah, definitely her column, you can special summon a Magical Musket card from your deck in defense position, which is usually Caspar. And then these 2, I think you could probably call, I've kind of kept it in maybe for reasons I'll show you in the spells and traps, but Calamity is similar to Starfire apart from it special summons from the graveyard in defense position, and then Wild's probably the weakest one, where you can shuffle 3 Magical Musket cards from your graveyard into your deck to draw 1 card, which is a little bit high cost for the actual reward. And then finally I'm playing 3 Ash Blossoms as a kind of our hand trap of choice. This just kind of disrupts a lot. Alright, so onto a fairly small spell section. So we're running 3 Magical Musket Cross-Domination. So if you control a Magical Musket card, which is similar to quite a few of the kind of like disruption-esque Magical Musket cards, you need to control that Magical Musket. You can target face-up monster on the field. Until the end of the turn, its attack and defense becomes 0 and its effects are negated. So this is kind of our effect negator. And then I'm running 3 Ties of the Brethren. So that's kind of why I'm running, 2 of each of the other level 3s apart from Caspar, and also I'm running 1 of each of the level 4s just because Starfire is the one you want to hit the most, but you kind of want to be able to resolve Ties of the Brethren if you've only got the level 4 to go at. So Ties of the Brethren, it used to be fairly well played maybe, but I think the fact that you lose your battle phase is absolutely brutal on it. But basically you pay 2,000 life points, summon 2 monsters from your deck which have the same attribute, level and type as a monster on the field that are differently named. So going first, what you really want to do is summon level 3, hopefully Caspar, activate Ties of the Brethren, get a search with Caspar, get Doc and Kidbrave on the field, and you've kind of opened yourself up there for getting some real good pluses. So in there running 2 Called by the Grave, you are fairly resilient to hand traps, I would say, just because people are going to want to stop the Caspar before you go into your link monster. And then I'm running 2 Pot of Desires and 1 Upstart Goblin in terms of draw. Upstart Goblin's obviously pretty easy to activate and resolve, and again, when you're resolving it with Caspar, you're just getting a plus on that. Desires is a little bit more touch and go. It conflicts a little bit with the Ties of the Brethren, and I've toyed with different draw cards, but I'm sticking currently with Pot of Desires. That may change, and I have tried Extravagance and stuff like that, and especially with Extravagance getting reprinted just around the corner, it might be time to switch it up to an Extravagance build. Alright, so on to the trap section, which, you know, as per control decks, tends to be, you know, quite large. So we've got 3 Magical Musket Desperado. So Desperado, you know, like Cross-Domination, you need to control a Magical Musket card, but basically target a face-up card on the field and destroy it. Super C, you know, easy activation. And you kind of want to cycle between this and Cross-Domination if you've got Caspar on board. And then running 3 Magical Musket Last Stand. So I can definitely see kind of reasoning to cut this to 2, but I think, you know, most things are running spells and traps, and it's an easy way of getting Caspar off to search something else. So basically, while you control a Magical Musket card and your opponent activates a spell or trap card, negate and destroy that card. Super easy. And then we're running 3 one-offs of Magical Musket cards, so running 1 Dancing Needle, 1 Fiendish Deal, and 1 Magical Musket Crooked Crown, just to try and limit the amount of times I'm saying the word Magical Musket. So Dancing Needle, I think, has actually got better with time. So basically, if you control a Magical Musket card, target up to 3 cards in the graveyard and just banish them. So super great, gets rid of stuff from your graveyard that your opponent could use as resources. You know, you can activate in response to targeting and stuff like that, so it's just all around very useful. Fiendish Deal and Crooked Crown, I would argue, are less useful. You don't actually need to have a Magical Musket card to activate them. Crooked Crown, you can special summon a Magical Musket card during your main phase, or during the main phase, should I say, so it can be your opponent's turn as well. And then when the monster is summoned, the main monster zone in in the column that you summon your Magical Musket card on your opponent's side of the field cannot be used, which is a super weird and barely useful disruption. Fiendish Deal could probably be cut. I'm kind of just using it as an easy additional trap card that can be activated, but basically Magical Musket monsters can't be destroyed by card effects, and then if it's sent to the graveyard by opponent's card, then you can add a Magical Musket card from your deck or from your graveyard to your hand. So reasonable. From there, we're playing 3 Trap Trick, which I think most people have opted against this now, but I really like the engine. I think so, you know, you banish a normal trap card and then you can set that same trap card that can activate that turn. So we can use it for Desperado. I would set all another card that I'm just about to show you. What I would say is Trap Trick means that you can only activate 1 trap card after you've resolved Trap Trick, so you've got to be a little bit careful. And then we've got 2 World Legacy Awakens. Oh, that's not World Legacy Awakens, that's World Legacy Landmark. We'll fix this in post. Just imagine there's 2 of those. I have to go and fish out my second World Legacy Awakens from a bulk. But basically, after it resolves, you link summon 1 link monster using monster you control's material, which, you know, means that you can kind of get your link monster off, which gives you pluses on your opponent's turn without having to wade through disruption. Alright, and on to the extra deck. So I'm running 1 number 3 Cedar King. So if its battle position changes, you can special summon an insect monster, which is obviously super relevant in this deck. But its main thing is that you can target an effect monster, negate its effect, and then change an insect monster's battle position or give it an additional 500 defense. So it's basically an effect for on legs in Link 3 form, no, rank 3 form, should I say. I'm running 1 Dante, Traveller of the Burning Abyss, which is basically just a beat stick in this instance. 1 Daigusto Emerald, which, you know, can recycle using the rank 4s, level 4, should I say. 1 Baguska, number 41, the Terribly Tired Tapir, so this is kind of our plan B if everything's going completely awry. And then a little Utopia package, so I'm running the Utopia and then I'm running the Utopia Lightning. So you could definitely run double, and I have run double in some of my other stun builds, you know, see Trap Tricks, for example, or something like that. I wanted this deck to be a little bit different, and I also, you know, think that with desires and stuff like that, I kind of don't want to be running that double. I've got enough things where, you know, it could go awry if I banish the wrong things, and Utopia of the Lightning is just an easy way that I can splash it in, get a bit of extra damage, and ensure that, you know, it's consistent. From there, we're on to the links. I'm running 3 Magical Musketeer Max, who is unbelievably good. If this was in any other archetype, it definitely wouldn't exist. But basically, when it's linked summoned, you can add spells or trap cards up to the number of monsters that your opponent controls, or you can special summon Magical Musket monsters up to the number of spells and traps that your opponent controls. Which is why I'm running the Awakenings, because you can summon this guy on your opponent's turn when they've kind of, just before they consolidate their, you know, monsters into a link board or whatever it is, get a huge amount of pluses, and you know, if you can't win from that point, you're doing something wrong. From there, I'm running kind of the Nightmare Suite, so I'm running 1 Nightmare Cerberus as a pop. Again, it's not super relevant. 1 Nightmare Phoenix as an additional pop. 1 Nightmare Unicorn as kind of that spin, which is something we don't really have in the deck. 1 Nightmare Griffin, which can be used as kind of, you know, like a skill drain-esque thing, but again, I wouldn't say it comes up very often. And then I'm running 1 Borrowload Dragon as kind of like a, you know, your non-targeting removal, and then Borrowsword Dragon as kind of your disruption. In my opinion, you don't really use any of the extra tech besides max, so, you know, you can put whatever you want in, you know, you use whatever text you prefer. So, we've had all of the cards in our crosshairs now. Muskets are an unusual control deck. They can go first or second, which is nice because a lot of control decks are, you know, forced to go first. With the correct setup, they are a hard nut to crack, but I would say they are a little bit inconsistent. You know, you kind of want that perfect balance between not having too many monsters but definitely seeing a monster. So in terms of relevance, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. For fun factor, the deck mostly does the same thing each game with some variants. The gimmick of activating your spells and traps from your hand never really gets old and is always a bit of a blast though. So I'm going to give them a 3 out of 5 for that. A lot of the Musket cards, you know, some of the Musket cards have been reprinted now, and the other ones, you know, have never really been cheaper. So I would say it's never been easier, you know, to snipe these cards from the market. I've estimated the cost to be about $170 for this build. So, what do you think of Muskets? Are they the golden gun for the meta, or a complete misfire? Thanks for watching, and subscribe to the channel for more profiles.